Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. I hope you had a good week so far. If this is the first time you're listening, this is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And if this is the first time you've ever tuned into this podcast, I highly recommend you stop here and go back to number one. Start there because you're going to get the most benefit. You're going to have the most. It's going to give you the most effectiveness and efficiency if you start there and go from that episode up to this episode. But feel free to listen to this one first before you go back there as well. So today, as you know, those of you who listen all the time, you know this podcast is all about wealth creation. And you know that some of the components of wealth creation are to do with assets, they're to do with your lifestyle, and they're to do with the types of income stream that you can generate that allow you to be mobile, flexible, free, passive. And the relationship between those three things really is what builds your level of freedom. And many of you have heard me talk about business and the importance of income growth through business. And you've heard me talk about leveraging different assets throughout this podcast, such as personal brand and digital assets like videos. And obviously on the other side of that, we talk about assets in terms of investing assets, like assets that we want to invest in and put our money to work in. And it baffles me at how many business owners out there try to invest but don't understand the importance or the difference that different assets make. Like I've been through this before where I said, just reading a financial statement. People try to invest without understanding how to read a financial statement. And then you figure out that they've run a business for 10 years and they have no idea how to read a financial statement. And the mind boggles. It really does. It baffles me. So today we're in for a treat because we're going to be talking about assets and the importance of assets, but also what difference they can make to your life in terms of business. And we've got a very, very special guest, Julie Barber, who is an absolute expert, number one author of a great book called Investor Ready. And Julie has over 20 years experience in consulting, and she specializes in innovation, business innovation, transformation, and making businesses investor ready. So to scale up, and she uses her experience on being on the buy side of corporate investments to help startups and scale ups understand what investors everywhere are looking for, in her own words. So this is going to be a good session because whether you've got a business right now and you're looking to add assets to that business to leverage and scale and grow or grow value in your business, or you want to understand about what these different assets, what the difference these assets can make into the value of a business, even if you're investing in a business. Either way, you're going to get a lot of value from this podcast. So really excited to have on Julie. Thanks for coming on, Julie. Welcome to Always Free.
Thank you.
Awesome. So what I want to talk about first is some of the listeners will be thinking, okay, so how does this fit with me? So we got business owners, we've got entrepreneurs listening to this, we've got people who are starting companies, and we've got people who are just looking to invest in companies. Particularly for those who are in a startup or in a business or entrepreneurs, and they're facing some struggles that they don't even know that they've got really, or they don't know why they've got them. You obviously help them overcome a massive problem, but before they understand what that problem is, what would be some of the situations that they find themselves in struggling as a result of not having assets in the business?
So there's kind of four areas really where you'll feel an impact if you don't have the right assets available in your business. So first of all is just in the ongoing health of your business. If you don't have the right assets available, you're not able to track whether you're on track, whether you're going off track, and to understand, directionally whether things are headed in the right place. So that ongoing health management of the company is critical. The second part is really, thinking about your long-term goals. If you've got that long-term goal driver, then if you haven't got those clearly articulated, if you haven't got assets that really help you articulate those goals, then how are you going to achieve them? So having those things written down well in measurable ways is really important. The third way that people are affected is in the case of what I call contingency. So something happens, and if you don't have assets ready in your business, then you will find yourself scrabbling. So really good recent example, COVID hits, and the government really helpfully makes available the CBILS loans, except you had to have a proper business plan to get a CBILS loan. And the amount of companies who went, haven't got a business plan, I've got to make one up now. And being in that situation where you didn't have it to hand has delayed vital money that they needed access to. So that's a really good example of contingency. And then the last one is more positive, which is opportunity. So there are also great opportunities that can come along as a business owner. And if you've got the right assets ready in the business, then it's much easier for you to take advantage of those opportunities. It could be a merger, it could be a sale, it could be any number of things. But if you've got assets ready, then you're much more able to be agile and to jump into those opportunities.
Yeah, right. So you mentioned number 2 was long-term goal, and people don't really think that far ahead, and I think that's something that really hinders people down the line. So if you're listening and you want to leverage and scale and leverage other people's money and get investment, you need to be thinking about that and thinking about that from an investor's point of view. So, who's going to invest in you if you don't have a long-term plan for your business? And the contingency one, yeah, absolutely. We saw that through COVID, where people who had plans together, they kind of got out the other end. They lived to see another day, and many didn't. And it's extremely relevant right now. So what's the so if that resonates with you guys, I recommend listening on, because Julie's going to share some very, very valuable insights. So obviously the benefits to having all that in place would be the opposite, right? You're going to live to see volatile markets. Through volatile markets, you're going to live to see, investment. You're going to be able to attract investment. You're going to have a healthier business all round. When people think that they're kind of building some assets in their business, then what are some of the mistakes that they make? Like when they're trying to cut corners, or they think that they're working on assets, but they're not really.
Sure. I think just before I get into mistakes as well, the other real benefits of having proper business assets is not just about what your business achieves, but it's how you react as a person. So you feel more professional and you feel less stressed, because you're not scrabbling at the last minute to try and pull things together. You've just got it. You can just take, I've got that ready, that's okay. So actually, I wouldn't ever discount the power of having assets as kind of adding to your personal confidence as a business leader.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really important. So key mistakes that people make. The biggest mistake is that they don't understand what the people who would use those assets really are looking for. So then they don't know what to put into them. So and assets is a big wide term, but let's say a business plan or a pitch deck. If you don't understand what the readers of those documents will care about, then it's impossible to get that document right. So that's the biggest mistake I see overall. I think beyond that, the other big mistakes are understanding how and when assets will be used. So, for instance, a business plan is a reading document. So it's not, you don't need zillions of flashy graphics and everything. Helpful graphics, yes, but you don't need, big flashy images all over a business
50-page
plan.
presentation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a pitch deck also could have two uses. So you might have a pitch deck that you want to send to people by email. So that would have a bit more text on it because you're not there to say the words. Or you might have a pitch deck that you're going to need to actually present in person, in which case you want them to listen to your words and not try and read the screen. So your pitch deck for that purpose must have less words and more pictures. So you've got to really think about the purpose of the asset and the end user and how they will receive it to make sure that you construct it in the right way as well. So I think those are some of the biggest ones that we see.
So building with the end in mind, kind of thing. Reverse engineering. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so then when it comes to you're obviously highly skilled and an expert in the field. You, as I say, #1 best-selling author. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
It's a great book. I've read it about 1.5 times, and it's a great book. You've got a lot of experience. So what people are going to be asking then? Well, okay. Well, what is important? What should I focus on? And what are the benefits of each of these assets? What assets do I build? So could you share a little bit on that?
Sure. So depending on what you're doing, there are 2 or 3 basic assets that any business should have, and you can probably add a fourth to that. So every business should have a brochure that describes its services that you can use. That's a tangible thing that you can give to people or send to people, especially in days when you can't meet them face to face because they're on Zoom, but you can send them something in the post so it feels more tangible, that they get something about your company. But once you're looking at a real kind of growth and opportunity and everything, then the assets that you really need are a pitch deck, a business plan, and if you are close to moving forward on an opportunity or raising investment, then you also need something called a data room. So a data room is an age-old term from the point when there would be a physical room, and if you were going to invest in a company or buy a company, that company would put all its information into a physical room, boxes and boxes of information, and your lawyers and your accountants would do due diligence on all of that data and check whether what the company had said is right. So now, thankfully, that doesn't generally happen in person, and it's not all paper, it's all electronic. So it's in things like Dropbox or specific online services that provide data rooms.
Which is an asset in itself, right?
Yeah,
like if you've still got a room with boxes in it, get that into an online asset.
Absolutely. So a data room is invaluable, and they take a long time to put together. Don't underestimate how long it takes. Even if you've only got a small company, you'd be surprised how much information you actually need to provide.
But if you do it from early on, at the outset, it's not as overwhelming. It's not hard, is it? It's just a routine.
It's not. But I mean, to give you an idea, I suppose when we're working with our clients, the basic checklist that we give to an early stage company has 150 items on it, and quite a few of those are headline items that just say things like contracts. So you might have 20 documents under contracts, or so it can be quite sizable. And the bigger and more complex your company gets, the bigger and more complex does your data room get. So those are the the big three: pitch deck, business plan, data room, and then of course brochure from a sales perspective as well.
Okay. And when it comes to the business plan, what's your advice around a business plan? Because lots of people think, oh, I don't know how to write a business plan. I don't know what it needs to consist of. Does it need to be 50 pages, 60 pages, 1 page? You know, what are the kind of key elements? How do you make that thing streamlined and efficient and powerful and, you know, pack a punch?
Sure. I think there's a excuse me. I think there's a couple of pointers, I guess. So one is come back to, you know, who's the audience for. So if it's just for you and you're not intending to do anything dramatic like sales and sale of your business or to raise funding, then you could do a more pared down version of a business plan that allows you to do it more quickly and keep it as a living document that you can update and use on a, you know, daily, weekly, monthly basis. If you know that in the next year or two we're going to be going for investment or sale or things like that, then you need to think about who will be looking at that and what their requirements are, and doing the research to make sure that you've got all of the key elements in there.
Right.
So you know, if you're looking at we tend to focus on very broadly 4 key sections, which is around the vision of where the company's going, the structure of the company and its scalability. So that means its back end processes, can it cope with growth that it generates? Then growth, which is all to do with its market opportunity, its competitors, all of that kind of stuff. And then the numbers. And the numbers is not just the financials of the company, but it's key, you know, performance indicators as well that you would track, like conversion rates and revenue per FTE and things like that, as well as just pure revenue and profit.
Yeah. Cool. So once, if businesses do have a clear focus and they get their data room together and their business plan together and so on, what are some of the benefits as a business that they can almost immediately see by having these assets in place?
The first benefit is the closest to home, because if you've got a pitch deck that really articulates what your company is and where it's going, you can use that to educate every single member of staff to be on the same page with the same message. So it turns into a training material that you know, you can use for existing staff and you can use for onboarding new staff. So straight away, you can have immediate impact. Likewise, then with your business plan, once you've created your business plan, you can then take each section of that and say, well, you know, now we need to turn that into an operational plan to make that happen. And we can then create a plan for each area of the business of it specifically what it's going to do over the next 90 days, 6 months, year, you know, of every task that needs to happen to achieve the things that we've put in the business plan. So, you know, you get immediate value from having those assets ready before anyone outside the business has even gone near it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something we do. Whenever I start a business, I always build it as if I'm going to sell it anyway, even if it's no intention of selling it, because it's just it's a sensible way to build business assets and systems. So, and
you
training,
never know what's going to happen as well. You know, you could never intend to sell, and then, you know, the worst might happen and you get ill or something happens in your family and you need to sell. And that is the last time when you want to be under stress and thinking, oh God, I can't sell it because I haven't got anything ready and it would be too hard. And you could risk losing the business and losing all the value you've created instead of being able to exit for a good sum. So it's a great protection.
Yeah, for anyone listening, you know, if you've ever thought about, you know, if I have enough, I'll just sell the business. If you're just basing that on revenue and projects, maybe, you have to understand that that's not really that valuable to an investor. There's a saying that you're only as good as your last job. And if you're basing it on just turnover like that, you're going to really struggle to find any buyers that are interested in that. What makes it really, really valuable is having these assets in place, like an instruction manual. When you buy a board game, you pull out the instruction manual, you can read, you know how to play the game because it's all there. All the information you need is there. But on the other side of that, we're talking about financial freedom in this podcast. Just having this in place will allow you more free time from your business. We always want to delegate things that we're not inspired by. And just by having training material and an operation manual for your business, where you can just one day go, well, I'm sick of doing emails, so here's how you do my emails. And you hand that over to someone and they can do it. Honestly, I can't stress how liberating that is for you as a business owner. So, excellent. Some great insights there. So what I love to do in the podcast is to give the listeners something that they can literally do immediately to feel like they're making progress like immediately. So do you have any tips or anything that they can do, something they can start working on right now, a little exercise they can do maybe to make sure that they're making progress?
Sure. So one thing that, if you have got an event in mind for your business in the near future, whether it's you're getting a bank loan or you're going out to raise equity investment or or a sale, a really powerful thing to do can be to create a profile or an avatar for who your investor is, to really build out the detail of, who they might be, where you might find them, what their focus areas might be, what their expectations are, all of those kinds of things that then help you tailor anything that you build after that in terms of assets, and find them in the first place as well.
Yeah.
So to give a kind of example of that, if we've got an early stage company perhaps that's got a product just starting to get a little bit of traction and a bit of revenue, and they're saying, we want to get some investment, and we work out that for them they want an angel investor. They're not ready for VC investment yet, and their product isn't really suitable for crowdfunding. So we're saying, right, it's an angel investor. They want to go with an angel investor who has invested previously, so has some other investments under their belt, because they want someone who's an experienced investor. So that rules out quite a few people. And they want someone with particular experience of investing in their sector. So that narrows it down even further. They want someone who invests at ticket sizes, i.e. puts in a certain amount of money as a minimum. So they want a minimum of 25k from one investor. So that narrows it down a bit further. So you can create this whole avatar of exactly who you're looking for. And then it makes it so much easier to sorry, the dogs.
That's all right.
It makes it so much easier to write documents, because you can start to really understand what they're looking for, and also then to do the research to find that person too, or that institution.
Yeah, really good. So starting with the end in mind again, and working backwards. That's, I mean, I know I'm involved with companies who have been created based on an avatar of an investor. So they've picked an investor, an ideal client, a big company, and then we've built a product for that person, and they don't even know it yet. So it's kind of reverse engineering the whole thing until you've built a business, and then you're going to go and target and get and make a sale with that investor. Really good, really, really good. So great insights there, great valuable tips, and hopefully those of you listening really take on board the importance of this stuff, not just for if you're looking to sell, not just if you're looking to raise money. Obviously that's great, but also just, as Julie mentioned at the beginning, just your well-being, your feeling of prosperity, your feeling of freedom from your business, being able to have all the ducks in a row so that it liberates you from scrambling around and reacting in certain situations and environments. That's not what you want to be doing. We want to build wealth, we want to build freedom, and having assets is obviously a major part in it, whether it's in your business or whether it's you're buying and investing, whether you're an investor listening to this and you're taking this on board going, oh yeah, right, I never thought of that before. hopefully you got some nuggets. So finally, Julie, where can people find you?
So you can go to our website, which is areyouinvestorready.co.uk, or you can find me on LinkedIn as Julie Barber.
Excellent. And the name of Julie's company is Spark Consulting?
Yep, Spark Exclamation Consulting.
Spark Exclamation Consulting. Find her on LinkedIn. And as I say, go and grab the book. It is well worth a read. It's a 270 page book, but it is jam-packed with nuggets, really, really valuable information. There's no fluff. It's just hard hitting, straight to the point, everything you need to know. Really, really good book. So thanks for coming on, Julie. And until next time, guys, have a great rest of your day and weekend. And I'll see you then.
For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.